Hello, everyone. Welcome in. My name is Ahmed. I'm the demo engineer at LaunchDarkly. And today we'll be going over feature management and learning basics about why feature flags are key in your application development. All right, so welcome to LaunchDarkly. If it's the first time or if you haven't heard about LaunchDarkly before, or if you have, welcome back. So LaunchDarkly is basically a feature management platform, right? It started with just basic feature flags where you can implement in your code base and just toggle on and off so you can seamlessly release features while the code is already been deployed in your application, right? It started with that concept and it worked pretty well. It's been almost a decade now, over a decade actually. But we have kind of like innovated in that space, and now we have 4 value pillars, right? And we go deep into each one of them. Now, the feature management started with dev productivity, where we help developers be more efficient with their development lifecycle. They can scale their applications using feature flags, and then they can test in production. Like that is still the big thing. You can test in production using feature flags. I'll show you how to do it in this demo as well. And then we went ahead and created other value pillars, right? So using feature flags, what we can do is, for example, AI configs. What you can do is have your models and prompts and change them in real time in your application. So rather than keep redeploying your prompts or redeploying your models or changing your models, hey, it's super simple to just do using AI configs, which then in real time make those changes for you. We do run these workshops as well. So if you're curious and want to learn more, we actually have a lot of content on our YouTube, LaunchDarkly, Google, YouTube us. There's a lot of content around AI configs, and we have workshops that we've done in the past and we'll be doing in the future for AI configs as well. So guarded releases, that's another area. Now, you will learn today on how to do basically feature toggling and targeting by segments, or basically targeting a certain number of users or context in this case. We'll learn about that. That's great. But what if you want to do, you're planning a massive deployment, but your concern is that the new release may not be as scalable as you were thinking. I mean, you're curious about the metrics. You really care about the metrics to be efficient than the previous release you had, right? And you can compare them. So guarded release helps you where you can track your metrics, you can track your release, and you can scale your release, right? So from 1% to 100%, it's scaling progressively. And then during that time, if any metric for your new release is above the threshold, it's quickly going to roll back that feature automatically for you, right? So it's having that peace of mind as a developer that, hey, that's fine, I did a release. And if things go bad, hey, it's going to automatically roll back. And for me as a developer, I'm focused on fixing the issue, not mitigating the issue. Lastly, we have experimentation. That's for A/B testing, funnel optimization. We've also now introduced advanced features such as holdout, and I'm blanking on one of the other features. So it's holdout, multi-arm deployments, and then more. Also, one thing about guard releases that we are also in the observability side of things. So you can now have option. We actually launched it last week, the new SDK, where it allows you to basically do session replays, logs, error monitoring, and more. So you have a full dev tools available within LaunchDarkly that you can use. So what are we going to do today? Today, we're actually going to be learning about feature management, dev productivity, how you can actually get started with feature management, and just basics of feature flagging, right? With that, let's get started. So this is LaunchDarkly dashboard. I am already on my project, which you can see right here. This is my own project that has a lot of features. We'll be learning about how to create new feature flags and how to use the project efficiently. So on the left-hand side, just to give a little bit context about what you're looking at, on the left-hand side, you have all the features and tools available within LaunchDarkly, right? So for release features, I have feature flags, which we'll be learning today, AI configs I've talked about, and so forth. So these are all the features under release. I just mentioned about the new observability tools available that you can now have access to. So session replay, error monitoring, logs, things like that. And experimentations, we have all the experimentation products or tools in this case are available to you. And shortcuts, we'll be learning about this. It's basically having the view that matters you the most. So in this case, we are working with a demo application called ToggleBank. And as you can see, we are actually on the ToggleBank view. So my feature flags are only feature flags available are that relates to this specific use case, right? In general, this project has probably like 50 feature flags at this point, but it just makes the view cleaner and readable for me. All right, so on the top side, like I mentioned, you can actually change your view as you prefer. So banking tag I have, and I'm sorting it by A to Z, just looks cleaner and viewable. And then I can create a shortcut, which basically helps me save that view. So next time I do want to get a view with these settings and config, I can easily access it right under the shortcuts menu right there. And in the middle, I have access to all my feature flags that are available alongside the targeting and some stats about which environment it is working with, right? So we'll be talking about environments. I'm sure you're in your development cycle, you have this where you have a production environment, you have a test environment, and so forth. So you'll be able to see targeting and stats based on the environment. Today we'll be only working with production environment, therefore I have results available for that, and we'll be taking a look on what that means. Any questions so far? Feel free to, I'm reading the chat too, so if you have questions, you're curious about to know something, let me know. I will be able to answer it live here. If not, I'll be taking that question and then responding later, probably emailing you the answer if I don't have a quick answer right now. Okay, so that is the intro of the UI. Now, what we're doing next is basically creating a new feature flag. We'll be creating that feature flag and implementing in our application and taking a look at how we can do that, right? So the basic 101 of feature flagging. Let's go ahead and create our feature. The use case is simple. We want to, as you can see, ToggleBank is basically going through some some major changes. They have released a favorite account component. They added a new database, even a 2.0 API. But now they're actually working on, let me introduce you to the app. There you go. Now they're actually working on where they want to create a wealth management component, right? So they have all these other tools available, but one of the things was a wealth management component for that. Oh, question, do you recommend having a local environment for each developer? Usually the way it can work is, if I go back here, good question, Ken. So the way it works is if you have a shared project, let's say you're working on a ToggleBank project. If this project was in, for example, ToggleBank, you can have it, right? So you can create as many environments as you want. So you can have, like, let's say under my under your name or for yourself or my name for myself, we can create these environments. And we'll actually be going through that under project settings. We'll be learning on how to do that. So it is possible. So if you're curious, like, hey, if it's a shared project and there's testing, there's production, but I want to have my own environment for my own local testing, that's possible, yes. All right, back to the story. So this is the application. Wealth management component needs to be implemented, and we'll be basically doing that for this app itself. All right, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and click on create flag. So we're going to be creating a new feature flag. Now, I already have the details, so I'm just going to copy paste. Like I said, we're creating a new wealth management component. So we'll enter the name. Now, the key is really important here, right? So what is the key for? The key is something that will be actually going in your application. So this is something that you'll be taking to the app where it will then know which feature flag it's supposed to get the value from, right? So the key, this is where you'll be implementing in your code base. Description is very simple. We are actually just releasing a new wealth management component for ToggleBank. Now let's talk about config. So for config, we have multiple options, right? We can create one for any custom one you may have. Release, which is what we're doing right now. We're actually releasing a new feature. And all it does is actually creates this bottom part easier for you. So it's you can basically choose custom and create all your feature flags if you want. It's just if you are new to this platform and you are you want the config to be somewhat automatically give you the best options, you can just select one of them, right? So if it's a kill switch, it will have a different option, and so forth. So in our use case, we're doing release, and it will be a temporary flag because they're actually doing it. They're releasing a new one, but ultimately it will become a permanent flag, right? So they're just testing it out. So temporary flag just basically means if it's for like temporary short-term control, you're testing it out probably, and at some point of time in my code base, I may have to remove this. And we'll be learning about how to remove feature flags, right? So it's temporary for now, but if everything goes smooth and it becomes a permanent feature for me, I may want to remove this. So it's up to you. You can say no or yes, depending on the flag status. All right, so next up is flag type. We support all types: Boolean, string, number, JSON. In this case, it's going to be just a Boolean. We're doing simple toggle on, toggle off, but you have the option of choosing either one. Okay, for your use case. Now let's copy the. I like my feature flag to be very well. It has to have proper names, proper description. Needs to have like even the variation names. It needs to be like it's easy to read. So like I mentioned, if this is a shared project, then you want it to be more readable for folks who are probably joining new or needs to know what the feature flag is all about. It's just a good practice to properly name your feature flags, and even the details in them. Lastly, we will be, for the first part, we will toggle this on. So what this means is if I toggle on the feature in the main UI, when we'll take a look, I want automatically to start giving the variation for release, right? And if the targeting is off, then it will just hide that feature. Next up is prerequisites. What are prerequisites? So prerequisites basically is what is this flag dependent on, right? So let's say, for example, if there was federated account component that relied on the wealth management component, then what we can do, or actually, let's make it better. Let's say the new database was something that needs to be toggled on, or actually needs to be running for that specific user. In order for this new feature to work, then you can set it as a prereq. Now, let's make it into simple logic. If this is implemented, the way it's going to work is this feature is not going to show if the new database was not available for the user. Basically, that's what it means, right? So we are saying a prereq that our new database needs to have the new DynamoDB available in order for this flag to work, which is the wealth management component. So as a developer, you can set prereqs where, let's say, you have certain features dependent on certain backend components or certain front-end components or any kind of features that need to be enabled. You can control that using prereqs then. And it will be super easy. If one of them fails, if one of them changes its value, which is not supposed to happen, but if it does, then this feature will automatically toggle off because the prereqs conditions were not met. All right. Next, we will do, we're not going to do this because we actually have to demo it. I just wanted to make you understand the concept of prereqs, but we'll actually not be implementing it. Tags is very simple. So we're going to add the bank tab because it's a banking application. And then I'll also add release because this is a release that we are doing for the feature flag. It makes it easier for you. Remember, I showed you how you can make a proper view for your feature flags, or just filter feature flags to your requirements. This will help you with that, with tags. Lastly, client-side availability. So if you're using mobile SDKs, we actually support pretty much all these features in mobile SDK as well. So you can use it there as well. And then also client-side SDKs. I'll be sharing resources in the end on SDKs and how to use them and where to learn and so forth. So I'm actually having this, especially this one, we need to toggle it on because we will be using this feature flag on the front end. All right, let's go ahead and create this feature. There we go, it has been created. This is the UI when it's created. Still, I can check on top which environment it's currently for. So in this case, it's production environment. I have the option of adding guarded rollouts, progressive rollouts, experimentation. I can check the evaluations of the feature flag. So I previously had this feature flag created. Again, I was testing my workshop. So I tested it out, it works. And so we can see results and also just some insights on the last 7 days. On the right-hand side, I just have the details about the flag itself. I can see the description, other details. We'll go over code references later in this workshop, so we allow code references as well. If it's part of any experiment, and then if you're doing any kind of workflows as well. So if it's part of like a workflow, it needs to follow a flow, and then it will toggle on. All right, feel free to ask questions. I am still looking at the chat, so if you have any questions, feel free to ping me, or actually leave the question on the chat, and I will actually answer them. All right, so this is implemented. Great, we have implemented the feature flag. Now let's quickly switch to the code base, and don't worry, I'll explain the code. It's very simple and easy. And I'll explain line by line. It's just understanding how the SDK works. And now, since we've already implemented this feature, we will actually take this and implement it in the code, right? So how this works in the code base, basically. So give me just a small moment. I'll switch my screens. There we go. All right, thumbs up if you can see this. If the code base is, you can read it and it's viewable. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, guys. All right. So what are we looking at? Is first off, it's a React application, so it's a client-side React. Now, if you're not comfortable with React, don't worry. It's simple JavaScript that I'll be sharing, so nothing too complicated. First off is the method. So this is a method that React Client SDK provides you, right? This is the SDK that LaunchDarkly has or provides you. And within that SDK, there's a function called async with LD provider. So this is basically the place where you can actually initialize your client SDK. Now, what we're doing next is we're providing the client-side SDK or key. So this key is something that we can get from LaunchDarkly. I'll show you in a second. When I go back to the other screen, I'll show you where to get the key from. And next is just basically options, attributes, and things like that. So React options is sometimes if you want to use camel case flags or not, that is an option for you. There's other options available, but this is just one example you can use if you have a preference as a developer. Options are basically you can set certain options, so event capacity on how many events you can send to SDK, things like that. It's very customizable, right? So I'm just sharing that even though like by standard, we have standard config available, but if you are curious if our SDKs allow to change those settings, they can, as long as you go in the proper like SDK docs, you read the SDK, in this case, attributes and options you have available, you can change them. And then private attributes. This is a key one. So we will learn context in one of the examples. And in context, you will have a question of like, hey, okay, context is amazing, but what about privacy and PII data? So what I want to mention here is that LaunchDarkly actually has an option where you can hide all the attributes. So if you're passing a context to LaunchDarkly, and context is basically any custom entity in your application, this can be a user, device, organization, API, you name it. So an example here is, in this case, the context, which you have to set it for LaunchDarkly. This helps you with targeting and knowing who the user is. So these are all the attributes. Now, notice how it has name and email. This is sometimes a private, or you don't want this data to be exposed outside your application, or you don't want LaunchDarkly to get this kind of access to this data. That's fine. You can just set it as a private attribute. And you will take a look when I go into one of the contexts and show you what details we get. You will notice we will be probably getting a tier and a role, but these two will be completely hidden from LaunchDarkly. So just want to mention that as developers, we really have to be careful about what data goes outside the application and which data remains within the app. So LaunchDarkly has that capability for you. All right, so that is just a simple initialization of React SDK. Now, this is done. Okay, we will probably be getting all the feature flags. Now, how can we use those feature flags? So this is my user dashboard. Remember, you saw the toggle bank UI with the accounts and everything. So that is this page. So just 2 lines that I want to show you, or 2 areas, not lines. One is how to get the feature flag value. So right here, line 23, that's what we're going to be focusing on. Notice how I'm basically having the flag key, and what I'm doing is I'm having this method called use flags, which is another method provided by LaunchDarkly React SDK. And this, what it does is it takes these keys and it gives you the value back. So it's going to go ahead and see, based on the context, it's going to get me a value for wealth management, and it's going to get me a value for another feature flag, which was the federated accounts. And I can use these values in my application. So let's take a look on how I can take advantage of this value. So I think I have to go all the way right here, line 140. Now, the code I've commented out on purpose, but what's going on is, let me just uncomment this code. There we go. Now, what's going on over here? Let me make this more. There we go. So I'm wrapping this whole code, which is basically going to show the wealth management component overall. What is the type of wealth management? Any? Yes, it is. So it will basically, it is any. So in this case, I will give it type Boolean because it's a Boolean value. Thank you. Thank you for asking that, Sean. So we are going to wrap it around very basically. So in React, what it does is it gets the value. In this case, if it's true, right, it's just a true or false way evaluation in React. So if it's true, it's going to run this. We don't have a false, so nothing's going to run. Otherwise, we could have just done this and then a false value. But since it's true, it's just going to run this. If it's true, it's just going to run this. If it's false, it's not going to run this code. That's the whole use over here, right? So let me know if you have any questions on this, but that's all we're doing here. And I'm going to go ahead and save this so we can actually see it in action. Now let's go back into, this is it. This is the code part. We don't have to switch anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my there we go. Okay, we are back. Okay. You said Boolean is one possible value. How would it work with the others? Oh, good question. So you will probably do some kind of check, right? So let's say it was a string. So if it was a string, then you would probably have some kind of logic in your code saying that if the variable equals whatever the string value is, then you would do something else, right? Now, regardless of the coding language, let's not pick React. Let's just take JavaScript or any languages out there. The logic remains the same, right? So if value equals a certain string, then you will be doing, if it's true, if that value is true, then you'll be running certain piece of code for the true variation. And then let's say the string didn't match that, then it will false. Same for JSON and others. You will be basically comparing one another. I hope it helps. And I'm happy to share more examples. I don't have a JSON one, but I am happy to share that later on how JSON might work. But we do have that option of using all 4, Boolean strings, numbers, and JSON. All right, so we have done that. Now, what I'm going to do is, I can do side by side. Okay, let's just test it out. I wanted to show side-by-side comparison, but the way I'm sharing my screen, it's a little bit not possible. So let's just, once I toggle on, and we'll go back and take a look. All right, so let's go ahead just to show right now, just making sure we go back here. It's not showing right now anything. So let's go ahead and toggle on. Oh, before I toggle on and show all those changes, let's talk about this. So what I'm doing right now is I'm toggling on the feature, right? So I'm basically the feature will be available for everyone. You can set, before I release it for everyone, which is a default rule, what I can do is I can set a prereqs. We talked about that. I can actually target individuals in the application. I can even do target by segments. Segments is a group of like users or devices, or basically a group of things, right? In this case, if I want to, I could have targeted early beta users, I could have targeted development team and more. And then I can provide them a specific variation for the feature. So in application, if they are part of this group, either beta user or development group, then they will get a specific variation compared to everyone else. So remember I told like, oh, we can test in production as a developer. This is maybe where you can do that. You can test between development team before releasing it for everyone else. Let's go ahead and test it out. So there you go. I've actually released it. It actually releases in under 200 milliseconds. It's actually very close to 30 milliseconds, but on paper we say 200 milliseconds, right? So our speeds have increased. We use a CDN provider. It's across the globe, and I've seen results where like it's under 50 milliseconds. It can take up to 200, but usually results are within 25 to 50 milliseconds for flag evaluation. Even SDK evaluations are under 25 milliseconds, or up to 25 milliseconds, and then flags can take up to 200 milliseconds, which is still very quick. It's like 0.2 seconds to put into perspective. All right, so we have the feature, it's available, everything is good to go. Now, if things went wrong, right? Sometimes things can go wrong, oh, I got an error, things can go wrong. Let me just refresh since I'm running a dev server. And if things go wrong, we can easily toggle off. And there you go. So that's what this was mentioning about, like you can do targeting in real time and change values in real time. Now what we'll do is a quick test. So I'll go ahead and hide for public, but I'll go ahead and target my development team. And we'll see in action how targeting works. I want to touch base a little bit on targeting. So if I do this use case, I'm targeting my development team. Notice how nothing has changed here. But if I quickly log in as Jen is a developer in the team, they have access to it, right? So Jen is a developer. And imagine this, if this was a production environment or production application, then they will get access, they can test it out, they can see whatever might be wrong. And for general public, or even for early adopters, or just general user, they do not have access to that use case, or in this case, the component itself. All right, let's move forward. So let's talk about, I want to talk about one more thing here. So let's make a quick change. Okay, so one more thing I want to talk about is we did instant change, but as a developer, when you're working in a very big project, there's PMs involved, there's like proper release cycles we have to go through. So what we can do is we have option of either request approvals or schedule changes, right? So I can schedule, I can add date time on when I want this to be released. And let's say if this was where like over the process is where the release has to be approved by a certain PM or a certain person in order for it to be actually released, then we can go ahead and do that review process, give the reason, and then they will get an approval request. And when they approve it, it will go through the schedule. Then whenever the date and time you have actually scheduled it for, it will go ahead and release at that moment. So it's a very it's a very quick and easy way of getting approved for your release, and then also making sure it releases on the date and time that you want it to be. So that's also available. That is it from this end. What I'll go ahead and do is talk about context, like I mentioned previously. What is a context? I've given a quick intro about it. Is a custom entity in the application. It can be a user, device, organization, API, anything that is to your preference. We allow multi-context, so you can have more than one. You can set a user context, a location context. It just depends, and you can basically are wrapping it around as a JSON, right? And let's take a look here. So this is one of the users. Remember I said in SDK that these two attributes will be private. I'm not getting their values. It just says name and email. These are the key pair, not the key value. But I'm actually getting the values for tier and role. I actually need that just because I can target, or maybe I am trying to see those values as it comes in. Whatever use case might be, this is not, role and tier are not that. For this use case, it's not a PII data, so we can use this for our use case. But for example, email and name, maybe that was something that we have to hide. We cannot take this data. Therefore, we are doing private attributes. So I just want to point that out. Now, overall, over here, what we're looking at is for one of the contexts, let's say we're debugging. A certain number of users are getting a certain variation that you're not sure of, and you're like, why is that happening? So this is where you can actually go ahead and take a look per user, in this case, of what kind of variation they're getting. So per context, so individual context, what kind of variation they're getting, and then you can make a decision on, oh, okay, this might be the use case. So it's telling you the reason on why they're getting a certain variation, and you can change in real time as well. Questions, feel free. I'm still reading the chat, and I will answer any questions you may have. All right, as a developer, we also have live events. So if anything is happening in the application, things are changing, you're getting some events, you can actually track them real time. But you can also track them using logs, errors, session replays, and traces as well if you're debugging. All right, so let's move on to, so I've covered that. I've covered feature flagging, I've covered segments, context. Now let's move on to code references and cleanup. Okay, so another area we have is, okay, you have implemented the feature, things are good to go. How can we properly remove those features from our application? So one of the ways we can do is, remember we used a temporary flag when we first created the feature flag. Now what happens is, let's say you were using it for 7 days and things were good to go, things were running smooth, and you didn't change any value. It was there for 7 days, and it's been you didn't change anything about the feature flag in the last 7 days. Then it's going to give you this option. Are you ready to archive? What does that mean? So if these conditions are met, right? No evaluations were done in the 7 days. There was no changes done. No code references were found. Things like, it's basically doing checks for you to make sure that you can safely remove this feature, and you can comment it out, right? You can put a comment like, oh, safe to delete, right? Things like that. And then you can archive the feature flags. Basically, this is not being used. And it makes your project cleaner in LaunchDarkly. Another feature we have, what happens is it automatically kind of checks. Sorry, Q&A. Oh, I forgot to go to the Q&A section. Okay. Are there permission levels on accounts so that we can ensure account permission levels on accounts? Do you mean account as an LD account, or do you mean as account as in a user account? We do have RBAC. So RBAC is role-based access control. We can do that. So let me quickly show that here. Roles, view role. So this is our sandbox environment. I just want to show that this is RBAC process where we can set a certain role for users. So we can do that. We have that option. So RBAC is available. Another question was, how does it know what the user object is? How does it know what the user object is? I think you're referencing when I was showing the code. It's basically a custom entity, right? So context is custom entity. You set this at your application level. And to show best, what I'll do is under docs. I'll show you towards the end. There's under the docs, I'll show you how to do set up context. So you can basically set up custom context that way. You said Boolean is one possible value. How would it? Okay, I think I've answered that one. Why is the type of wealth management any? Yes, I've already answered that one as well. Why is the type of wealth management? It's just in React. We have it that way, but you can completely change based on your logic in the code. For me, it was just it's a demo application, so we use any. Now, do you recommend having a local? I think I've already answered that one. So I think all questions are answered. Thank you. I'll move to the chat. All right, so we can archive if you want to. And one more thing we can do is code references. So let me show you that. So this is one of the examples. This is one of the feature flags we have, right? Enable AI suggestions. And we have these code references. What it does, it connects with your version control system. We support 4 version control systems. Top of my head, what I remember is GitLab, Gitbucket, GitHub, and there's one more. So we support up to 4. They might have added more, but I know last time I checked it was 4. But all the major ones are out there. And what it does is, so once you implement it, now I can see where this feature lives, and this helps me with technical depth, right? So I can check where this feature lives. I can check in source, and it tells me exactly where this lives. And let's say this was supposed to be removed, then I can go ahead and make those changes. Right now it's only in one area, but I can make those changes, remove it, and it'll be good to go. All right, so that is code references. Lastly, I want to show is, coming to the docs. So this is kind of like beginner basics of feature management. Like I said, we have so many other values and pillars, and it deep dives into other areas. Now, if you're curious, we have those workshops, and we have those, you can go on our YouTube and you can watch all the tutorials. And we also have Academy, which I'll be showing you. So this is where I'll just be wrapping up because we're getting closer to a little bit of time. And I'll be taking questions, and I'll be leaving you with LaunchDarkly docs. So in the docs section, you can actually go and get started. You can explore the SDKs. You can learn about how to implement them. So for example, if you pick JavaScript, you can go through that. You can actually, it will tell you the basics of how to implement it and get started. And then under guides, it actually goes you and shows you on how to do certain things. It goes step by step there. And then also we have API docs. I actually love our API docs. I just want to show you a quick example. So for example, let's say if we're creating a feature flag. So what you can do is you can actually test it out yourself, right? So you put your API key, which you can get from LaunchDarkly. You can put your project key, all that, and then it actually goes ahead and does it for you. So you can send a request and it creates it for you. So I actually use this when developing. So I basically test out, making sure that this works before I use it, in my automation scripts or internally. I just test it out to make sure it works. And yeah, so that is another key area. And then we have tutorials that you can watch on how to do certain things. I remember, how to get keys. Okay, quickly I'll show that. So I mentioned about keys. Let's go to, let's go to Toggle Bank there. So you can get keys anywhere from here. You can copy your keys. Also project settings. I forgot to mention that. So project settings is where you can go and basically do any changes to your projects. Here you have option for environments, so you can add environments. You can copy the details. You can mark as critical. Basically, any changes you want to do, you can do that over here. It's very simple. And I think, I just want to make sure I show that area because I remember there was one of the questions about it. And lastly, Academy. So if you want to learn by yourself and get started right now, just go to Academy. It's meant for everyone. It's meant for beginners. It's meant for builders. It's meant for product managers. And you can quickly, you have workshops there. I know workshops are down, but it's available for you to get started. And it also has courses. You can actually certify yourself and things like that. So that is it. And I feel like there's one more question. Let me see the Q&A. I think I've answered all of them. Remind me if I've missed. Do you have to create the do you have to create the flags in the ClickOps fashion? Actually, good question, Sean. Let me show you. No. So we support CLI. We support dev server, which is a local server. So you can use CLI. You can use, actually, the CLI would be, there is under, I think, guides, feature flags, using LaunchDarkly CLI for local testing. So you can use a CLI. You can use a dev server, which is a local server. You don't have to connect to the internet and do that. You can do MCP server. Oh, one more thing, MCP server. So what you can do with MCP server is, let's say you're using AI agent to create your application or any kind of AI tools. You can connect LaunchDarkly MCP server, and next time you tell your AI agent, hey, I need this application created with this features, and you can then say, hey, wrap these around feature flags and connect to whatever SDK you're using, right? And use that SDK. Using the MCP server is going to basically have all information about LaunchDarkly, create that for you, and you're good to go, right? So we support a lot of local. API is always there. What happens if LaunchDarkly goes down? Good question. So let me show you in a quick example. I'll show in demo 2. I'll show in this example, code examples. So another way, I've already showed React example. I'll show Node.js example. So import the SDK. You basically initialize the client, and this is the context. So one of the questions was, how does it know it's the user? I think this will help because you can set what that context can be. And when you're using multi-context, then you will have each one of this, right? So you'll have each one of this, which will be a user, a device, or whatever the use case might be. And then, okay, how do you get the flag evaluation for the context? So it's simple, variation method, flag key, context, and to your question, what happens if it goes down? We call a fallback value, right? So fallback value is where, in case the connection goes down or it's not unable to connect to LaunchDarkly, it will still use this value, whether that's whatever, if it's a Boolean variation, then you'll use a Boolean value, string, JSON, up to your use case. So you can have a fallback value, and then it evaluates based on that. If you'd like to try that, okay. I think that is it. If you have more questions, please send us. There's a link provided, and this is it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.